15, and January, I just said it this morning, January 29th, 2024. I said it once this morning and quickly forgot. That's the way it works when you're getting a little bit older. Um, hope everyone hope everyone is doing okay today. And sorry, I'm looking up some stuff online as we have our conversation. Just seeing what's up with people around the world, checking in on my YouTube friends, my Facebook friends. Don't really have separate Instagram friends. They are friends that I know in real life, or I know through Facebook or YouTube. Instagram just seems to be an overflow of those other social media sites. So, as promised, I broke out my heavy hands this morning. Heavy hands were big in the late 70s and through a lot of the 80s. They seem to make a comeback every decade or so. Because in the early 2000s or so, they gained a certain amount of popularity as well, thanks, I think, to a large part to Coach Stan John. If you're not familiar with Coach Stan John, definitely check out his website, check out his YouTube channel, go to danjohnuniversity.com. He is the man to go for all things training, and I mean across the board. He from Olympic lifting, track and field, throwing, kettlebells, all of it. Across the board, he is the man to go. And he reminded me in the early-ish 2000s about my heavy hands, which I still had, and I dug them out of whatever storage I had them in at the time and started using them again. And they've been sort of a on again, off again, in and out type of training modality for me. It's a very simple practice. Grab the weights and walk. They're designed so you don't have to grip. They're not like the hand weights that you see some people do. And you'll often see people walking with weights, dumbbells, or the pink hand weights or whatever. But they just walk. What you need to do is think of it as almost as cross-country skiing. You're matching your arm pump with your stride, and that way you're literally getting the workout that a cross-country skier would get in. You're raising your heart rate to high, steady rate. It's a great workout, great cardio workout. You're getting some minor strength training thrown in. Leonard Schwartz built a wonderful physique that he maintained. He was the designer of heavy hands that he maintained up through his 80s. And very lean, not big, not bodybuilder-ish, but a very fit individual. And I mean, I think that most people would envy the physique that he had. And he was just a very strong, fit individual who lived his passion. So remember, you need to, it's not real heavy weight, 2, 4, 6 pounds. 6 would probably be enough for as heavy as you need to go, although I believe he might have occasionally did like 20 pound, but not for long. Our friend Destiny Forever Walks, PhD, is here, and she's saying hello and happy Monday, Eric, here listening. How are you? I'm doing well. I'm talking about bringing out my heavy hands again, which are the hand weights. And I often see people using the hand weights, but they're either just walking with them, or they're not matching their stride with your hand pumps, which is important. It's the same when you're cross-country skiing, and you can do that same movement where you can do a double swipe with the heavy hands and really raise your heart rate. Studies have for decades, athletes with the lowest heart rate and the greatest VO2 max of any athlete across the board have been cross-country skiers. The sport that has always fascinated me is the biathlon, where you cross-country ski with a target rifle on your back. You reach a destination, and then you shoot at a target. And I'm not really a big gun person. I grew up with guns though, but for me, the whole never developed into a passion of shooting. It could be fun on occasion, but they just don't hold much of a draw for me. If someone else likes it, that's absolutely fine. But imagine getting your heart rate up to near maximum level as you're doing cross-country skiing, and then being able to get your heart rate down slow enough and steady enough that you can aim and shoot at a target. That's what fascinated me. That it's almost a yogic exercise to be able to get the heart rate up and then bring it down in a very short amount of time, because remember, it's a race. It's judged by how fast you get to the finish line, as well as how well you do on the target shooting. So to do anything that takes a certain amount of focus when your heart rate is literally pounding in your ear is an incredible feat. And it shouldn't surprise anyone that the best biathletes are those who have practiced years of meditation along with their physical approach. Destiny says, okay, the hand weights you possibly will bring back. People need to see you doing that. That's probably true. So they can know how to use them properly. Great idea, Eric. I'll have to see if I can get Mocha when we walk together to film me, as I don't have the technical capability to film myself doing it, and I do it outside. But again, your arm pump motion is aligned with your stride. So when your left foot steps forward, your right arm goes up. And there's different levels. Level 1, you're just bringing it from the hip to top of the abs. Level 2, up to chest. Level 3, you're bringing it up. You're not swinging, you're pumping. And then there's the ski pole action that you can do, and the double ski pole action, and you can do the curls, and you can even do presses or lateral raise, but all of it is done matching the stride. That is the key to that steady work. So again, every couple of years, I come out of heavy hand retirement, and it all comes to listening, intuitive. And we're all given these little intuitive guidance of where we should move to next in every single avenue of our life. Destiny says, can't wait to see that workout. Sounds like something I would love to do. I think you absolutely would. And it's a great form of strength training as well as cardio training. And it's because you're using a light weight, it's very safe. You're injury proof. But you get, because you're walking 20 minutes or half an hour, that's quite a bit of motion that you're engaged in. As well, you get outside, you get fresh air, and you get to be in nature. And I know how much you love being around trees. So it just combines everything. And we're only a month away from spring, thereabouts. I know technically, meteorologists say spring starts at the 1st of March. Technically, it doesn't start until mid-March, March 21st. But around here, we normally start getting some warm-ish weather right around the beginning of March. So we get outside, we get that fresh air. We're surrounded by nature. We're using our arms as well as our legs to affect our heart. It creates new neurological pathways in the brain. It's a wonderful workout. and you can add it in almost as if you're a biathlete. Take a camera and your phone and take a photo of a tree. The reason I'm saying that is, one, you get to enjoy the tree on a more intimate level, and two, just like when the biathlete has to stop and focus, bringing his heart rate down in order to shoot his rifle, his target rifle, we're doing the same thing with a camera and whatever we decide to take a photo of. So you walk, you get your heart rate up, and then you try to bring it down so you can be steady and take that perfect photo of whatever it is you would like to take the photo of. So you're bringing in the mental component, and again, what we want to do is increase the neurological pathways, make new ones, neuroplasticity, that we can literally shape our brain, creating those pathways by using different thoughts, combining things, combining activities, getting the physical and the mental at the same time, because we always view it as these two separate events, but in actuality, it's one thing. It's the mind-body, no separation between the two. I was saying earlier that we all have these little intuitive whispers urging us in a particular direction, not just in exercise, but, and as Destiny says, exactly, we need to listen more to our inner being. So can we be certain of our next step? Hashtag intuitive. Exactly. And that's been key for my entire life. It's been key for me. It's what led me into Olympic lifting. It led me into kettlebell lifting. It led me into ultra running, and then more into body weight stuff. It's always steered me through my yoga. Recently, with my back hurt, spending less time in the physically demanding asanas that I had been doing, I got this little whisper of yoga nidra, that it was an aspect of yoga that was always a little on the back burner for me. I'll always devote more time to it, I thought, whenever I get there. And I just got this little intuitive push now. If not now, when? Because I had the time and I needed something to fill that space within my yogic practice. And it's been perfect. It's been exactly the direction that I've needed to go. And I got that same little urge to try out my heavy hands again. Just thought it would be fun to use the hand weights, get the results, and at the same time, it's very healing on the back, because for one, your walking stride is reduced, because again, you're matching it with your arms, so you're going a little bit slower, but you're still getting the heart rate up because you're swinging a weight, a light weight. It's still a weight though. Destiny says, Eric, what inspired you to study and practice yoga? It's a great question, and the answer would be inspiration itself. When I think I might have been about 11 years old, could have been younger, every payday, my parents would go food shopping, and we would go to the mall. We'd have dinner, Friendly's restaurant, if you guys remember Friendly's, or another restaurant, and my favorite stop, the bookstore. We were each allowed, 3 kids, to pick a book. If it was a slim paperback, I used to enjoy reading paperback westerns. I actually still do. Maybe 2. And I used to pick some pretty weird books. I don't know why. They were always books on mysticism. They were books on, again, just weird, off-the-wall type of stuff. And I picked a book on yoga, Teach Yourself Yoga. They used to have a series of books, Teach Yourself, way before they had the Idiot's Guide to, and there's another one, I forget what it's called. And I still have that book somewhere. for whatever reason, I felt drawn to teach myself yoga. And I remember my mom, she never tried to talk me out of a book, but she would make suggestions. Are you sure you want it? Because there's other books that I know you enjoy reading. Are you sure this is the one you want? It's not really meant for kids, but it was a book that I wanted. And I taught myself yoga. I practiced. Now, being 11 years old, I would practice for a couple days and then go a couple days or a couple weeks without practicing. And then I would pick the book up again and I would practice again. And I did that on again, off again until my 20s when I started practicing all the time. In my 30s, I had a clear message: teach yoga. I was feeling a little lost. I didn't know what to do going on with my life. And I remember asking myself, what should I do? And just getting a very clear message that I should teach yoga. But I knew as well that it wasn't really the physical aspect of yoga, that it was going to be the deeper aspects. I don't feel, I mention this fairly often, I don't feel like a yoga teacher. I feel like a yogi, a practitioner, and I just share the stuff that I love. Now, if someone can get something useful from that sharing, if someone learns something from that sharing, that makes me extremely happy. Destiny says, your conscious higher self put those books in front of you to awaken you to this false world around you. I believe that's so as well. And again, I think that kind of stuff happens to all of us. I have bought books, and I've had them for 20 years. For whatever reason, I never got around to reading them. They sat on the shelf, forgotten. I might be looking for something else, and I see the book, and I get this urge. I wonder how come I haven't read this? And I pick it up, and I read it, and it's completely changed the course of my life. Or you're in a bookstore, especially a familiar bookstore, where you know where everything is, and you're looking, and there's a book sort of askew or standing out in some way, and you pick it up and it's the exact book that you need. Or a book falls accidentally off a shelf and you pick it up, and you might have read it before and you think, I need to read it again, and the message sinks in deeper than it ever has. Books are just a wonderful portal into our highest consciousness. There's that connection. The right book at the right time almost always falls into my hand. Amazing connection. And we all have it. And as Destiny said, we all have those intuitive urges. Destiny says, it does happen to all of us, the ones who accept a calling, their life will be changed forever. And that's key. I agree 100%. Because very often we ignore those signs. We ignore those little gifts that we're given. We decide the book is too expensive, or I'd rather have this book, or not to listen to that voice telling us to start doing this or whatever. I think it's natural as we're kids, but as we grow up, we push that stuff aside because we start having our own agenda that is separate from the agenda Spirit, the universe, God has for us. I quoted before Jane Roberts, who during the 70s wrote the channeled book Seth. Seth was billed as a non-physical, intelligent entity. It doesn't matter if that's true or real. If the book had great insights. And in the book, he mentioned that all of us receive a wake-up call from God between the hours of 3 and 6 a.m. But most of us have learned to ignore that voice. We shut it off. 3 and 6 is a time when, in Celtic mythology, they were called thin places, where the veil between this world and another reality are so thin and porous that at certain times we can walk right through, or some intelligence, some love, some whatever can come through over here. Interdimension travel. And again, it doesn't matter if it's believed or not. You could say that the burning bush was a thin place between this world and heaven. In actuality, one world, but again, we don't know how to see any longer. We don't know how to see the greater aspects of reality. We only see what we think is here, what we think is present. The great mystics, Jesus and Buddha, Muhammad, these are people who knew how to see. They saw with the third eye. They saw intuitively. And then they reported what they saw. They pointed the way to heaven. So yeah, Seth, Jane Roberts, we received that wake-up call between 3 and 6. And if we remembered how to pray during that time, if we got up when we heard that voice, then the universe would respond to even our most subtle prayer. Just getting up at that time, training ourselves to be awake and to be aware. And Wayne Dyer used to say, even if you just put one foot on the floor, you didn't fully wake up, but you put one foot on the floor and you prayed, that would be enough. Thomas Troward, a modern day English mystic. Let's say modern day, but maybe 100 years ago. I'm going to try to look him up. He said something similar, that if we all ask for what we wish for, between those magical hours, the universe would have no choice but to conspire to come to our aid. Let's see, Thomas Troward. He wrote a lot of great books, the Edinburgh Lectures on mental science, which is mental science, another way of saying how to pray. He was considered a Christian mystic. He died in 1847, 1960. So I could say modern day mystic in a way. For those of us born in the 1900s, not as easily found. I find myself talking to Facebook friends and YouTube friends, like Runner Boy yesterday, and I mentioned hurting my back in 1990, and he mentioned that was 10 years before he was born. My back injury is 10 years older than he is. Does make me smile. Especially because, 58. And aside from my back hurting right now, which again is due to something I did 30 plus years ago, I do not feel, I was going to say I don't feel 58, but what's 58 supposed to feel like? If it feels like this, well, hey, that's pretty good. Because I can still, even with my back being sore, I can still knock out burpee reps. I can still walk and run as far as I want to. I can still do pull-ups. I can still sit in meditation. I can still do most of my yoga. So once I clear up the back issue, I'm good for whatever adventure life holds next. Destiny says, I was most likely born in the 1800s. We have been around a long time. I always like the thought of rebirth. which is a little different than reincarnation. Rebirth happens to us every single moment, which is just a wonderful and mysterious way of going through life, to see how everything is just coming up, reborn right now, and then changing. Or as my friend Robert Saltzman says, that each moment is just a once upon, never to happen again. And yet something remains, our sense of awareness. It's the same when we were aware of the world the day we were born, but we didn't possess the vocabulary to label things, to say things, but we were aware. It's the very same awareness that we have now. Everything else has changed. At some point, every single cell in our body has been replaced several times over. And yet the one thing that hasn't changed is awareness. That's our reality. That's who we are. So if reality has been ever present from day one, who's to say the awareness of which we are was not present in 1820, in 1690, in 1240, and on and on and on. And also, who's to say it wasn't present in the very moment that singularity of energy erupted in the Big Bang? And again, who's to say? Destiny, I think that you would enjoy Thomas Troward. He is some of his quotes I pulled up here. I almost could be reading Destiny Forever Walks quotes when I see what came up. One of which being, and this, I could hear you saying this: belief in limitation is the one and only thing that causes limitation. The secret to enjoying life is to take an interest in it. Just, he was definitely a master of the mind. We read a little longer one. Well, here's a short one that I'm sure you would like. My mind is a center of divine operations. His last name is Troward, Troward. So Troward. I'm going to read a longer quote. I was looking for his one about waking up, but I couldn't find it. And here's the longer quote. My mind is a center of divine operation. The divine operation is always for expansion and fuller expression, and this means the production of something beyond what has gone before, something entirely new, not included in the past experience, through proceeding out of it by an orderly sequence of growth. Therefore, since the divine cannot change its inherent nature, it must operate in the same manner with me, consequently, in my own special world, of which I am the center. It will move forward to produce new conditions, always in advance of any that have gone before. You're welcome, Destiny. Let's see, I'm putting waking up early. Nothing. I've quoted him before when I said the law of flotation was not discovered by contemplating the sinking of things, Meaning, if you want to learn how to cause something to float, you think of things that float. You don't think of things that sink. So if you want to learn the laws of abundance, of prosperity, you don't think about things that keep you poor in spirit. You have prosperous thoughts. You have thoughts of abundance. Or you ponder those thoughts. That's the secret of contemplation, which is a little more than just thinking. People worry that, if I have a negative thought, does that mean that I'm causing negative experiences in my life? Negative thought is just energy. But if you contemplate negativity, you create negative conditions. Nothing changes until something changes. Or, what was it, Einstein said, that nothing changes until something moves. So, if you're always thinking the opposite of what you want, if that's what you're contemplating, then nothing new, you don't have that energy for something new to come into your life. So, as Thomas Troward said, the law of flotation was discovered by thinking of the things that would float. Destiny says his quotes are inspiring. His thoughts are very much like mine. I can relate to what you read of Thomas's words. Thanks, Eric. You're welcome. And truly, it is, when I read his quotes now, and I've been reading his quotes I discovered him through Wayne Dyer, probably in the 1990s. And I have some of his books buried back here on my wall. I'd have to dig them out. But now his words and yours are almost entwined in my mind. That when I think of Thomas Troward, when I think of his quotes, you always come to mind, as it's that same energy, that same essence that comes through. So, so to wrap things up, and I will, hand weights, the heavy hands, yoga nidra, but more importantly, listen to those inner whispers of intuition. See where they take you. There's big things in store for each and every one of you. And that's whoever happens to listen to this. And some might say, well, how can you promise that? I can't promise you what that big thing is, and it might be big only to you, but that's enough. It only has to be big to you. It only has to be special. It only has to hold your passion, no one else's. It could be starting a blog. It could be learning how to knit. It could be taking up karaoke. It could be learning to play piano. It could be 1,000 things. It could be running an ultra marathon, running 100 miles. As big as you want it to be, as small as you want it to be. And there's no measurement in its value that it brings to you. But you need to listen to see what it might be. And there'll always be something. So, with that, I'm going to say goodbye, guys. Destiny, thank you. As always, you enhance every conversation that you are a part of. Destiny says, yes, I can feel that, Eric. I appreciate your conversation today, and thanks for sharing this wisdom. Thank you, and thank you for sharing your wisdom as well. And I will see everyone tomorrow in the morning for burpees, and then we'll come back later and talk live. Take care. Thank you, Destiny.